Picture two ancient kingdoms, both powerful, both old, both proud, but carrying traditions older than many modern nations. Yet, something as simple as the birth of a first son creates two very different destinies. In one kingdom, the first son grows up knowing this simple truth: my future rests in my father's mouth. While in the other kingdom, a newborn takes his first birth, and the elders already whisper, "That is our king. This is the one." Same continent, same idea, primogeniture, but two worlds apart. Benin says, "Wait for the king to pronounce him as heir." Igbo says, "Watch the lineage. That is our heir." From birth, the heir is known in this system called primogeniture in the western parts of Eboland. And when you lay these two systems side by side, the contrast is not just cultural, it is emotional, it is philosophical, it is a window into how different societies understand power, destiny, family, and the making of a king. For some, a king is not born but made, but for the other, a king is made. The first day he is born, he is already pronounced a heir apparent. Join me as we walk into these two worlds.
They would have found out that the eldest son of the Oba of Benin is not automatically the crown prince of Benin, even though our system of succession is based on the principle of primogeniture, until his father, the reigning Oba, pronounced him so and direct him to Uselu to preside over Uselu as the Edaiken of Uselu. Or until then, he is regarded as just the first prince or senior prince in Benin. They will say, Oko no Hua. So were we all, and my father. I was also involved in a ceremony in the palace that formally sent me to Uselu. With Comrade Oshomoli was there at the time, he was the governor. And a lot of crowd walked, trekked, as we have to do in line with tradition. Trekked all the way to Uselu. Took residence before technically, officially, I became the crown prince, became the Edaiken of Uselu. Anything short of that is window dressing and cosmetic. They decided to drag this, my eldest son that I loved, into a conspiracy against his own heritage. And he was thanking them for it. He also let himself be dragged into the conspiracy for obvious reasons, because he refused to listen to the counsel of his father, the king, that thought has been nurturing him since birth.
What Oba Ewuare II said in that clip, that sentence alone reveals centuries of royal logic. He explained that although Benin practices primogeniture, the first son is not automatically the heir. That simple detail breaks a common assumption many people hold, because in many cultures, firstborn equals heir. Automatically, no questions are asked. Because in many cultures, firstborn equals heir. Automatically, no questions are asked. But not in Benin. In Benin, the first son becomes heir only after the Oba himself stands, acknowledges him, and says, "This is my successor." And that is not a small thing. That declaration is not just symbolic. It is the actual key that unlocks the pathway to power. Without that royal confirmation from the Oba, there is no heir, there is no successor, there is no Edaiken. as you just heard the Oba narrate. Once that declaration happens, the next stage unfolds. The son proceeds to Uselu. And Uselu is not just a place you visit. It is a place you enter as part of a transformation. Becoming the Edaiken of Uselu is not simply receiving a title. It is stepping into a role that marks you as the person destined for the Benin throne. Now think about that. This tradition forces the first son to go through a process, a becoming, a transition. The royals of Benin do not leave succession to mere biology. They leave it to intention, responsibility, ritual, and recognition. In many ways, the message is clear. Not every first son is ready. Not every first son is destined. But the one the Oba declares, that is the one the kingdom accepts. So this gives credence to the declaration and proclamations of the king, saying, this is my first son, this is the heir. This Benin's process carries an important philosophical idea. Power is not inherited by accident. It is bestowed by authority. And this makes sense historically. For centuries, Benin preserved its throne through complex system of governance, diplomacy, spiritual duty, and war. The kingdom understood that not all firstborns possess the discipline or character required to sit on a throne that heavy. So, the Oba's declaration serves as the kingdom's filter, a safeguard, a moment of alignment between crown, tradition, ancestors, and community. In that moment, the Oba is not just choosing a son, he is choosing a symbol, a successor, a future king who must carry the weight of history and carry the culture and traditions of his people. This is the monarchical system practiced in the western parts of Eboland. Let's leave Benin City. Let's travel east. Let's walk into the towns of western Eboland. In many Igbo communities like Obuluku, Iseluku, Owashuku, Nnewi, Onitsha, and all others, the rhythm of succession beats differently. Here, the first son is not just waiting for a proclamation. He is not hoping for confirmation. He is not dependent on the king's moment of decision. His destiny begins at birth. The first son becomes Umogwu, the heir apparent, the one who stands in the doorway between the living and the ancestors. The first son becomes Umogwu, the heir apparent, the one who stands between the present and the future, between the living and the ancestors. His path isn't something that comes with a dramatic pronouncement or announcement. It is something the community already knows the moment the child is placed in his mother's arms. That child becomes Umogwu, and a ceremony known as Ifimisi is conducted for the child. Even though he is recognized from birth, his role is formally marked through a ritual called Ifimisi. Ifimisi is not just a casual ceremony. It is a rite of passage into identity, a rite of belonging, a rite that ties him to the lineage of his fathers. This ceremony is typically conducted in the family home or family compound, surrounded by elders, uncles, mothers, siblings, everyone who forms the fabric of that lineage. Where Benin uses the institution of the Oba and the palace at Uselu, in Eboland, the western banks of Eboland, we use family, community, and ancestry. That child must be of the bloodline of that ancestry in the patrilineal kind. Instead of the royal title of Edaiken of Uselu, the heir becomes the Umogwu, the one expected to lead the family spiritually, culturally, and materially into the future. That child is immediately, in most communities, exiled from sleeping at the palace because two kings cannot exist in the same palace. In some kingdoms, the two kings cannot coexist in the same kingdom. So the son, who is the heir apparent, is given another kingdom or goes to a distant kingdom where he is groomed in the ways of a king until his father's demise. Then he returns to take over. In these Western Igbo communities, primogeniture is not about royal decision or royal decision making. It is about continuity. In the Igbo worldview, the first son stands at the tip of the ancestral line. He is the keeper of memory, the custodian of the father's tradition, the one who maintains the family shrine or obi, the one who carries the father's spiritual responsibilities to the next generation. So, the Igbo idea of an heir is less about ruling a kingdom and more about preserving the soul of the lineage called Umunna or Ebo in some parts of Eboland. This difference matters because while Benin's succession is political, hierarchical, and institutional, the Igbo succession is familial, spiritual, and very ancestral. You must be of the bloodline of that kingdom. When you place these two monarchical systems side by side, something becomes very clear. Benin says a ruler must be appointed by authority. Eboland says an heir must emerge from ancestry, from birth. Benin's system protects the throne. Igbo system protects the lineage. One uses spiritual and royalty. The other uses ancestry and community. And yet, both are forms of primogeniture seen across Africa and in Nigeria. Both honor the first son. Both ensure continuity, but they do so in completely different ways. Although you have to be very careful to understand these differences. So, for you, my viewers, who are watching up to this moment, here is a question I want you to sit with. Which system do you feel creates a stronger sense of destiny and identity? The system where a son must be chosen, or the system where a son is born into his own role? There is no right or wrong answer. Note this, only two cultural truths shaped by history. These differences aren't contradictions. They are reflections of how societies shape leadership. In Benin, the making of an heir is a public act. In Eboland, the making of an heir is a family truth that every member of the family must affirm. Both systems have survived generations of pressures of colonialism and acculturation, but both systems continue even unto this day. Both systems remind us that Africa's political philosophies are diverse, detailed, and deeply intentional. Two systems, two cultures, two pathways to continuity and destiny. And for those who think African traditions are simple or monolithic, these two examples alone show just how sophisticated our inheritance philosophies truly are. This is Ema and Cultural Forum, and my name is Onwade Ngozi Chukwuka Fortune. If you enjoyed watching that video, kindly drop a comment in the comment section and share this video to your audience. Let us know what you think. Which of these two monarchical systems do you think is more sustainable or serves the society better? The Igbo traditional political system of primogeniture, or the version in Benin where the heir apparent must be pronounced by the father before he is considered the heir apparent? Whereas in western banks of Eboland, that heir apparent is naturally, traditionally, from the first day he is born, known as the heir apparent. Thank you for watching this video. If you are not yet a subscriber to this channel, kindly take your time to go through the channel and subscribe. See you in our next video. Bye.